years after the events of Avatar the Last Airbender, Iroh chose to live in the spirit world. He felt he had done all he needed to in the physical world and left his body behind, letting his soul settle into the spirit world where he set up a new tea shop. Since Last Airbender, we've wondered about Iroh and his super spiritual connection, and Korra led to even more speculation about how the Dragon of the West ended up residing with the spirits. What's up, guys? I'm Kris Carr, and today I want to talk to you about Uncle Iroh's spirituality. Before we dive in and sip on some jasmine tea, I want to give a shout out to our amazing sponsors on Patreon. Thanks to heroes like you, we get to keep talking tunes and giving you all the lore and theories your little hearts could desire. If you want to help, head over to our Patreon page and see if one of our donation tiers works for you. We'll thank you with shout outs, behind the scenes looks, and more. No money? Well, sharing, liking, and subscribing are awesome ways to show us nerds your support. All right, let's get spiritual. So a little backstory on Iroh. As the heir to the Fire Nation, Iroh was celebrated as a skilled general during the 100-Year War and helped the Fire Nation to conquer the continent. In his youth, he had a vision of him claiming the Great Earth Kingdom city Ba Sing Se. This led the crowned prince to lead a siege on the city. In an unprecedented feat, Iroh broke through Ba Sing Se's outer wall, but during the siege, his dear son Lu Ten had died in battle. This broke Iroh, and he called off the rest of the siege before breaching Ba Sing Se's inner defenses.
Uncle's coming home.
Does that mean we won the war?
No. It means Uncle's a quitter and a loser.
What are you talking about?
This tarnished his name, and his brother Ozai used it as an opportunity to take the throne for himself. And it's important to note as well that Iroh never sought the throne again. He was content not being the ruler of the Fire Nation. Unlike most of the characters we meet from the Fire Nation, Iroh was easygoing, wise, and a spiritual man who admired the other nations and their bending abilities, even going so far as to incorporate their techniques into his own bending practices. His lightning bending techniques, for instance, were influenced by the calm fluidity of waterbenders. In contrast, Ozai and Azula's lightning bending techniques were presumably generated by refined rage.
I know what you're gonna say. She's my sister and I should be trying to get along with her.
No, she's crazy and she needs to go down.
Iroh definitely seems like he's lazy and hedonistic, but his personal philosophies speak completely otherwise.
The stomach is the source of energy in your body. It is called the Sea of Qi. Only in my case, it is more like a vast ocean.
He believed in living life to the fullest and deciding your own path, that your destiny is something you can choose. But what made this guy so spiritual? Well, first, let's look at the use of the word spiritual in the context of the show. There's really two ways that Avatar uses the word spiritual. One is associated with the real world and being a person who is contemplative, inward-looking, meditative, not concerned with the material. The other is setting-specific, meaning connecting with the actual spirits in their world. Iroh's spirituality obviously covers both of these facets. We should also remind everyone that the spirit world isn't the afterlife for humans. Spirits aren't the souls of deceased humans. It's a totally different plane of existence where spirits happen to exist. Iroh was clearly spiritual in Last Airbender, but in a typically more conventional manner. There were hints that he had traveled to the spirit world, but mostly he had a very Zen master sensibility. By the time we reach Korra, the wisdom Iroh bestows upon Korra feels much more like first-hand information as opposed to yogi phrases.
Even in the material world, you will find that if you look for the light, you can often find it. But if you look for the dark, that is all you will ever see.
Let's start with one of the first instances of strong spiritual connection we see from Iroh, him spotting Aang riding Roku's dragon Fang while in the spirit world.
What's the problem?
Nothing.
Again, we're never flat out told how this is possible, so follow me on a little bit of theorizing. Iroh had previously journeyed to the spirit world. While the Avatar can go at will, there are other ways your regular, albeit spiritual, human can make the journey. Losing his son Lu Ten caused Iroh to make his way there to find his son. I believe Iroh spent a long time in the spirit realm.
The spirits are not to be trifled with.
Yes, I know you fear the spirits, Iroh. I've heard rumors about your journey into the spirit world.
This not only made him more connected with this realm, but also helped to reshape his perspective further on the actions of the Fire Nation.
Only now do I see that my destiny is to take it back from the Fire Nation, so the Earth Kingdom can be free again.
His son's death obviously made him reevaluate what they were doing, but I believe his time with the spirits really solidified that he needed to pursue a new path. It also helps that Iroh was always a gentle soul. Prior to the events of Avatar the Last Airbender, he had been a member of the White Lotus, which meant he had inner peace. The White Lotus is an ancient society that exists beyond the boundaries of the four nations and seeks to understand beauty and truth.
We're all part of the same ancient secret society, a group that transcends the divisions of the four nations.
The Order of the White Lotus.
That's the one.
They share knowledge across their political divides and believe they are tasked with finding and nurturing the Avatar.
A call went out that we were needed for something important.
It came from a Grand Lotus, your uncle, Iroh of the Fire Nation.
Iroh was a Grand Lotus, a spiritual leader within the group. The Order of the White Lotus mimics that of the Freemasons, a real-world secret society whose members stretch across various cultures and nations. Oh, fun fact, the White Lotus flower symbolizes beauty and detachment in Hinduism. I know he's a guy who laid siege to a city for 600 days, but he still feels a lot less murdery than his brother Ozai. Iroh was a deeply spiritual man, and thus could experience things others couldn't. Furthermore, we know that Avatar is heavily influenced by Eastern philosophy, most notably Buddhism. In the teachings of Buddhism, one can achieve spiritual insight through enlightenment and meditation. This concept is known as siddhi and is said to grant the enlightened person with mystical powers and abilities. So, we can theorize that Iroh's heightened spirituality granted him some sort of power. Let's talk dragons now.
The original firebenders were the dragons, and they're extinct.
What do you mean? Roku had a dragon, and there were plenty of dragons when I was a kid.
As you'll recall from our firebending video, dragons first taught the ancient civilizations how to firebend. Ron and Shaw are ancient dragons who are believed to be the original masters of firebending. At the tail end of the 100-Year War, these were the last two known surviving dragons. As time passed and humanity moved away from their spiritual references of these creatures, the Fire Nation sought to wipe out the dragons by killing them for glory and sport, a tradition started by Fire Lord Sozin.
And if you could conquer one, your firebending talents would become legendary, and you'd earn the honorary title, Dragon.
Iroh discovered these dragons living among the Sun Warriors and earned their respect. This prompted Ron and Shaw to teach Iroh the true essence of firebending. Upon returning to the Fire Nation, Iroh lied about the last known dragons by claiming he killed them, thus preserving their lives.
Iroh was the last outsider to face the Masters. They deemed him worthy and passed the secret on to him as well.
Obviously, this ends up being huge for Team Avatar, since Aang and Zuko would later need to seek out these animals to aid in their firebending. If Iroh hadn't lied about killing Ron and Shaw, Sozin or some other turd could have wiped them out forever. This respect for the first firebending masters may have earned Iroh some serious spirit brownie points. It could also explain why a dragon spirit like Roku's Fang would allow himself to be seen by Iroh. There's also a fan theory that speculates that Iroh wasn't just in touch with the spirits, he was part spirit himself. Like how Princess Yue held part of the moon spirit within her, this theory states that Iroh possessed a part of a spirit as well. Remember the adorable little foxes from when Team Avatar wanders through Wan Shi Tong's library?
Hello, little weird fox guy. Seems it's trying to assist you.
All right, in case you weren't up to snuff on your Avatar knowledge and didn't check out our spirit guide, these fox spirits are known as the Knowledge Seekers. These guys assist Wan Shi Tong by traveling the world and collecting books and scrolls to contribute to the library's archives. In that episode, we see 3 foxes. When we see them again in Korra, there's only 2. Theorists believe that the third fox knew it was going to die and gave part of its soul to Iroh when he was in the library. Furthermore, as Iroh lives in the spirit world, he appears to get intel from the remaining Knowledge Seekers. We see in Darkness Falls that one of these insightful spirits comes to inform Iroh that Tenzin, Kaya, and Bumi are in the spirit world. Do they do this because they're helpful and like this tea-slurping fella? Or is it because they're fox spirit connection? You decide and let me know. Lastly, and mostly because I was challenged by a few of you in my firebending video to talk more about Iroh and tea, I'm gonna talk about tea and spirituality. I know, that seems like a stretch, but just like, trust me, okay?
This tea is nothing more than hot leaf juice.
Uncle, that's what all tea is.
Tea is incredibly important in the world of Avatar. Not only do we see it as a traditional customary beverage, we know that tea can give benders a cool power-up. Chi-enhancing tea is a natural stimulant that can improve strength and increase energy. The Earth Kingdom military uses it, and even tried to give it to Aang to induce the Avatar state.
Is it working? Is it working? I can't tell. Somebody tell me if I'm in the Avatar state, because I don't have a good view of myself. Am I talking too loud?
Chi refers to the metaphysical energy that flows through the body, and is a concept in Avatar that bending is rooted in. So, everyone in the Avatar universe is on board with tea being great, but Iroh is definitely an intense enthusiast.
Its leaves make a tea so delicious it's heartbreaking. That, or it's the white jade bush, which is poisonous.
Since Avatar is deeply rooted in real-world customs and cultures, let's talk about tea's spiritual significance in the real world. So Buddhist monks helped spread the rise of tea consumption because they believed it was beneficial for maintaining long periods of meditation. Sitting down for a cup of tea also allowed monks and the literati, those who were well-educated, cultural tastemakers of the time, to have equal footing in social situations, which would allow the monks the opportunity to share their beliefs and values with others. Additionally, tea is often tied to the notion of purity. Murata Shuko, a 14th century Buddhist philosopher, said that 4 values were the central concept of a tea ritual: reverence, respect, purity, and tranquility. Scholar Kakuzo Okakura also suggested that the concept of tea represents purity and harmony. So, with that in mind, Iroh's tea preparation and obsession can be seen as another aspect of his deep spiritual connection and a means by which he can meditate and reach the spirits. See? Brought it back around. Tea philosophy. Boom!
I'm not interested in a lengthy anecdote, Uncle.
It's more of a demonstration, really.
These are just some theories on how Iroh was able to become so spiritual, so I definitely want to hear from you guys about how good old Uncle was so in tune with the spirit world.
Toph thinks you give pretty good advice. And great tea.
The key to both is proper aging.
If you want more videos, click to the left of my face or check us out on Roku and Plex. Once again, a huge thank you to our sponsors, and thank you for watching. See you, Space Cowboy.